We'll start in and around the Premier League with this first topic. Obviously, is there too big of a gap between the Championship and the Premier League? Looking through this, it's a topic that's been discussed quite heavily on the day of recording. I've seen a lot of stuff today about parachute payments and stuff like that going on between the Championship and the Premier League. But are we in a position now as a kind of football institution in the Premier League where the quality level is now just too high for teams to actually regularly maintain positions? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts they've always been the same, to be honest. I mean, Claire Case, Norwich, and even Brentford, they're struggling in the second half of the season. That goes to show that there's such the girth, the gap is crazy. And for some reason, I don't think the parachute payment is helping teams because people are panic buying. I mean, come on, they just panic buying and just buying any player that is a hype on and let's be real. If you're a team coming up to the Premier League and you're trying to buy a player from, let's say, the German league or from the Serie A, I know you've got the money, so I'll extort you. You know what I mean? So teams are just panic buying. They really want to stay in the Premier League because it's the mecca of football. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like the Premier League and all the other leagues in Europe. So my thoughts have always been the same, to be fair. It's just a crazy gap. I mean, teams are struggling to stay in. So
I mean, when we look at the bottom three currently, you've got Norwich, Burnley and Watford. Burnley, not traditionally a yo-yo team. They've been in the Premier League consistently since they came up. But Norwich and Watford, very traditional yo-yo teams. Always going in between the two leagues. Have been going between the two leagues as long as the Premier League's been active, especially Watford. They've been the definition of a yo-yo team the entire time.
The owners are comfortable with it. So,
and again, if it very much depends on the ambitions of the owners. I think the interesting scenario here is we saw Newcastle go down quite recently. They're now obviously back in the Prem and have been for a few years. They're now kind of monetarily propped up. We saw the same with Aston Villa. We saw the same with West Ham a few years ago. They were in the Championship a few years ago. And I think the interesting thing about this is when you look at the kind of teams that have come up and actually stayed in the Premier League and made an impact, you're looking at 5 realistically over the last sort of say 10 years, teams that have kind of come up and influenced the Premier League. You're looking at Wolves being one who have come up, and obviously they're in 8th now. They've been a kind of traditional top 12 team since they've been back. Palace have either been they've always been in and around that sort of mid-table, but usually just about comfortable, and Vieira's doing a fantastic job there as well. Leicester City, of course, came up, and then the second year in the most bizarre scenario we've ever seen in English football, in my honest opinion. They went on to win it, but now they're sort of falling back into mid-table sort of scenarios. And I'd argue kind of Leeds are in that bracket as well, purely because of the style of football they play. But the interesting thing here is, will Leeds survive another season? I don't know. It looks like their sort of philosophy's gone in the water.
Yeah, I think because of the philosophy they came into the Premier League with, people were excited, and I feel like they've lost that now because of Bielsa has been fired, obviously. So now they're going with an American that he's got the traditional American football way of coaching, which is team talk, mind games. It starts here. If you listen to him talk, everything, like he said multiple times, football starts here. Do you know what I mean? While Bielsa was different. Bielsa was more like bish, bash, bosh, let's go, gang press, attacking, counter-attack, and just be on the go. So it's a for me, I think if they don't go down this season, which at the moment it looks like it's going to be a tough run-ins at the end of let's say end of April, you would see the teams sort of just settle down. Everyone is going to pick the positions, I feel like. And I feel like if they survive this season, next season they'll be okay. Because personally, I've always said, even to the kids I coach, football starts here. I believe that 100%. So with the way they're playing now, you already know the syndrome, new manager syndrome. When he comes in, you fire on, you do well for the next 10 games, and after the 10 games count, it sort of peters away. Do you know what I'm saying? So
it looks like more than anything that's petering away moderately early, because the last 5 games, they've drawn at 1-1, lost. So they are the definition of a 50-50 whether they win or lose.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So I just hope if they stay on this season, then next season I feel like his philosophy his tactical prowess will go into play. Because at the moment, right now, he's just, guys, let's stay on. Let's just survive this the relegation fight. So that's what it looks like, to be fair. So yeah,
it's an interesting one, man. I mean, the kind of bizarre scenario we are seeing this season is obviously Everton being very close to that bottom. They're such a traditional top half team. They always have been. I believe the longest standing Premier League team in history, it's them or Arsenal, I think, are the two teams that have always been in the Premier League.
Yes, Arsenal and Everton.
The top flight of English.
Top flight football. Yeah,
they're the only ones that haven't ever been relegated, or never been, or the longest standing, or whatever it is. But it does look like Everton could be in trouble here. Obviously, the teams below them are all, I feel, significantly worse. Everton, by the looks of things, have got a couple of games in hand on Watford looking at the table, and they are 3 points ahead. They've got they're 4 points ahead of Burnley, who have got a couple of games in hand on the teams either side of them. But again, it's bizarre with Everton. I want to quickly talk about this because their squad should not be in a relegation battle. I don't understand how it's happened.
Honestly, should not even. I mean, we shouldn't even be saying Everton because, you know, a lot of football guys we always banter. There's something called the Everton Cup. You know what I mean? So they're always in 7th or 6th.
Yeah.
So every year you're like, oh, who's gonna win the Everton Cup? You know what I mean? But this season it's just like they've just made the biggest mistake. I mean, in terms of the way the buying of players. The recruitment process has just been wrong.
It was a very bizarre January as well. One of the most bizarre Januaries.
Yeah, why would you employ Frank Lampard? No disrespect to him, but I mean, really?
I don't understand it with Frank Lampard because, as far as I'm concerned, he's got a worse resume than Ollie.
Exactly.
And Ollie was ridiculed, realistically. And that's not a United bias. There was clearly a very solid agenda against him.
If you have a sinking ship, who would you employ as a manager right now? Be honest. I have one guy in mind.
It's Big Sam. That's who you go to. You go to Big Sam. You go to Big Sam because he has the best record of keeping teams up. To be honest, I wouldn't have even been surprised to see Steve Bruce take the job because he keeps teams up most of the time. That would have been a much more suitable appointment, in my honesty.
Yeah, because then.
Although I don't know whether that had happened before he'd been sacked by Newcastle. I don't really know. I can't remember the timings off the top of my head. However, that would have made more sense than going for Frank Lampard.
Got relegated with Steve Bruce has not. Wait.
I think he's been relegated once or twice, but he's got a very good record.
He's got a good record, though.
He's got a good record of being in that sort of scenario. And at the moment, that's what they need. They need they need someone to barricade the doors. They don't need like a project manager. They need like an experienced guy who's going to keep them in that sort of scenario. And it's very interesting looking at Newcastle as well, because Newcastle were, for a while, looking like they were in that sort of scenario. They look pretty safe now. 30 games played, 31 points accumulated. They're currently sat, I think, 8 points above the... 9 points, above the relegation zone, having played the same as Watford. So I don't think any team's going to make up 9 points.
Newcastle is pretty much... I don't want to say pretty much safe because we already know the cutting off point is 40. Once you hit the 40 mark, you're safe. You're in the Premier League. So they just need to win 3 more games, and I feel like then the safety is guaranteed. Because to be fair, I really rate Eddie Howe. Yeah, I mean, I've always rated Eddie Howe, and I feel like given a proper team, he would do well. You know what I mean? I don't know if he will be able to manage a team like Man United, because Man United is not a team at the moment. It's a business. So it's difficult. You know what I mean? So we don't know how good he is as a businessman, because Sir Alex Ferguson was an amazing businessman. I mean, I don't know how he did both. I don't know how he was a manager and a businessman at the same time. That's crazy. Arsene Wenger as well was an amazing manager and a businessman too. So those two, I can see why they went head to head for years, because they just had the same mentality, same drive. They had the same ways of thinking around random players, because come on, let's be honest, we had the worst team in 2013 and we still won the Premier League. I mean, come on. So that goes to show. But going back to what you said about with Everton, I feel like Newcastle, I just feel like this season they might just stay up, because Eddie Howe is, actually buying players that he's worked with previously, and it's working. And
yeah, I genuinely think they made quite smart investments. You look at Trippier. I think that's a great player to bring in that scenario. Very, very decorated, very experienced. Has played at lots of different levels.
What a technician as well.
Brilliant. They brought in Guilmares, I think his name is as well, who looks pretty good. And I think Chris Wood's a great signing for them. I honestly do. For the sort of striker he is, I think that's what you need.
I think he works well with what's his name, the striker. What's his name? The number 9. Callum Wilson. It does.
If Wilson wasn't injury prone, I do genuinely think he will be at a top 6 team. I rate him so high.
Top poacher is such a good advanced forward. He's such an amazing player.
I do want to quickly talk about another team in this kind of listing at the moment, which is Brighton. Obviously, that's where I'm based, down here on the south coast. So I'm not a Brighton fan. I'm a United fan first and foremost, but I do like to see what Brighton are doing. It's a bizarre situation for them at the moment because they have drawn, lost
games,
and it's bizarre because they're not playing bad football. It's that they still don't have a centre forward, and I've been saying this for many years about Brighton. They are a centre forward away from unlocking that sort of top half sort of scenario.
I mean, it's amazing how a team can play such beautiful football and end up losing or drawing.
Every single time.
Ridiculous
it's bizarre. Like, obviously, I'm down here, so I speak to a lot of Brighton fans, and all of them say, like, we don't really want to go to games at the moment because we know what's going to happen. We know the scenario we're going to play, and then just get either hit on the break or we're just going to concede something stupid. But you look around the team they're now establishing. You look at, like, obviously Lamptey, Dunk. You look at I can't remember the name of the Brighton keeper, but he's solid.
Sanchez.
Yeah. You then have in the midfield, obviously you've got Trossard. You've got Basuma, you've got who's a wicked player. You've then got Lallana floating around. He's obviously a bit past his time.
McAllister.
I think he's in the Argentinian squad as well. So you've got international players here. You've got international players that are doing, like Trossard starts for Belgium sometimes. So he's in that sort of conversation.
Trossard is a brilliant attacking midfielder. Brilliant. And he plays different positions. He's such a versatile player. Brilliant.
But then you look at the 2 attacking options they have, which are the 2 you've got. Welbeck has never been a prolific goal scorer. He's a good attacking option. He's a nuisance and he causes problems, but he's not a prolific goal scorer. You've got Mopé, again, a nuisance, but not a prolific goal scorer. These are players that should be in partnerships, not
he was prolific for Brentford, to be fair. I'm not going to lie. I can understand why Brighton bought him a couple of years ago because he's a good finisher. I just feel like it's not working. The possession football doesn't suit Mopé. Mopé is more of a direct sort of football. So over the defender, he runs onto the ball, finishes. That's Mopé for you. Mopé hasn't got good percentages on the ball in terms of passing the ball. He's not a good passer of the ball. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and all the passes, all the good passes on the team are actually they haven't got legs that much in terms of Lallana and what's his name? What's the other guy in the midfield? That plays beside Basuma. I can't remember his name. But they haven't got legs. You know what I mean? So, and it's difficult to have players that they haven't got legs, but they've got the mind to pass the ball. Like having like an Ozil in a team, you know, it's like, you're gonna have the lethargic movement, but you know you're gonna get a good pass. Brighton haven't got that, and Mopé is not the guy they should have up front for them, honestly.
Well, they've got an interesting scenario. They have got a really interesting scenario because they have officially signed Undav, who is one of the top scorers in Europe this season. They basically let him because the guy who owns the club also owns the club that he plays for.
Of course.
So it does look like they have a potentially very, very good undiscovered striker coming in from the Belgian league, which, to be honest, Belgian league players tend to translate quite well to the Premier League. They tend to pick it up and move quite nicely. And I know purely because my cousin was in one of the Belgium academies that the academies in Belgium are outrageous. Like you are training 4 or 5 days a week from the age of like 11, 12. Like you are very much indoctrinated into football. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, they're going to stay up. I think I'm pretty sure they're safe in the way it's going.
Yeah, Brighton would stay up. Graham Potter is a very good manager. I mean. Man, I've been following him from when he was managing the Swedish team. I can't pronounce the name, so I'm not going to try to butcher the name anyway.
And he took them from the third division up to winning the top league or whatever it was. Like incredible.
Yeah. His possession was amazing, crazy. On average, it was like 60%. Beautiful football, moving, flowing, everything was good. came to Swansea, did the same thing, and I was like, wow, this guy should be poached by a big team. But as you already know, everyone wants to go for the blockbuster manager, because I feel like if a team like Manchester United or even a team like Arsenal before Arteta took over, took a chance on Graham Potter, people will be like, wow, he's an amazing manager, and all of that stuff. Because look at what happened to Mourinho with Porto. You know what I mean? You know, took them in 2004, won the Champions League, and Chelsea thought, you know what, before he gets poached, let's go for him, and it worked for them for at least 4 years. So I feel like Brighton will come good.
I think he'll end up at top 14.
Graham has to leave. He has to leave, because I'm sorry, man, you can't have that. No, you can't be that good of a manager and manage a mediocre team and make you look stupid or make you look bad. I mean, no, it's not fair. It's really not fair.
I would agree. I think the thing with Brighton is they're in a position now that Southampton were, I think, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. You know that Southampton team that had it had Lallana, Lambert, Shaw, Schneiderlin, and a few other players as well. There was like this group of like 8 players that all ended up leaving. Nathaniel Klein as well was in that
Nathaniel Klein,
and there were a few. A load of players ended up leaving that team, but I feel Brighton are now in that position where they've got this sort of group of, they've got a collection of like very usable, very kind of usable players that are all from sort of different areas. I'm surprised Dunk hasn't been snatched up by a bigger team, to be honest with you. I think Dunk's...
I know why he hasn't been snatched up. I know why. Because Dunk is he's good in the air. I mean, his aerial ability is unbelievable. That's one. He's a decent defender. He's not that great, but he hasn't got the pace.
Okay.
And you know the Premier League love pace. Everything has to do with, and that's how the league is anyway. So for me personally, I feel like Dunk would do good in a team like, let's say, in a Liverpool team. I'm not saying he would fit into the squad, but what I'm trying to say is he would work well with Van Dijk, because Van Dijk has got the pace. You know what I mean? So Dunk would be the player to sit back, more like a sweeper defender, to stay back and clear whatever comes his way, because Van Dijk will go off and do the dirty job, just like Rio Ferdinand did in Manchester United with Vidic, where Vidic hasn't got the pace, but his reading of the game was amazing. So he would let Ferdinand do the, you know what I mean, go up front and do all of that. So I feel like I can see why teams are like sort of overlooking Dunk. I understand why.
It's an interesting one, man. It is an interesting one, but we'll move on.
Sounding so good right now. But it's sounding a Brighton town.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, CubCamTV. Stay locked.
forward, as we haven't got too long left